ultimately the hearing is inconsequential to his appointment. Yes. This is just I mean, there was a point in time when these sorts of hearings could make or break a person and cook an appointment. But nowadays it's just, I mean, come on, we live in a post-Trump universe, and even before even in a pre-Trump universe, it has these sorts of meetings have been relatively inconsequential. Clarence Thomas comes to mind. It's I would say it's more consequential for Democrats who will abide by norms and standards. It's just historically less consequential for Republicans who don't really care. If you remember the famous Robert Bork, I guess, but also the famous case of Clarence Thomas is is basically the exact opposite, right? Like, Clarence Thomas had a tremendous number of misgivings and misdeeds, including sexual harassment, bestiality, like enjoying bestiality and regularly explaining that he enjoys specific types of bestiality to other people around him. And yet he became a Supreme Court justice. How do people not know this still at this point? Clarence Thomas likes horse porn, chat. That's right. He also sexually assaulted and sexually harassed numerous people, very famously. Joe Biden actually kind of defended him when he was in charge of the Senate Judiciary Committee. In his appointment, and oversaw his appointment. Veterans, including Greg Stoker, interrupt Hegseth session post by Copink. Yeah, I saw. Anyway, let's continue with the Pete Hegseth talks.
2017. At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
I believe so.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
Senator, I was.
Communism isn't necessarily a good thing. Since World War II, we've consistently progressed as a civilization. We should be careful not to be blind to what got us here and what worked. Yeah, no, you're right. Totally. No, definitely. I'm so scared that big bad communism is going to magically happen. It's actually communism that ruined the planet, and certainly not finance capital and the fact that capitalism won the Cold War. America won the Cold War and destroyed the planet in the process, and continues to destroy the planet or supercharge that destruction. Yeah. Are you drinking a Monster Energy? I certainly am. Kaya, baby, you know what to do. Place. Place. That's crazy. I do love looking at I do love looking at the impending doom of complete climate collapse, wars all around the world, and a complete domination of capitalism. As Fukuyama once famously said, the end of history. Okay? The end of neoliberalism, permanent neoliberalism. As American capitalism is the global hegemon, and yet people still look to all of these problems and go, oh, that's the fault of, you know what? Communism. That's right. Yeah, you're right. For me, this is akin to saying it's actually wood elves that are responsible for all the failures in your life, okay? It must be the duendes that are responsible. Meanwhile, the duendes-loving person basically handed off his party and control of Mexico to his female successor, Claudia Sheinbaum, whose popularity has only grown. So maybe duendes are real, and maybe they're only doing positive things. But I digress. I've completely sidestepped from this conversation. Let's get back to everyone's favorite rapist drunk guy, Pete Hegseth, who will be running the military.
Falsely charged, fully investigated, and completely clear.
Bro, get over the duende shit. AMLO doesn't even believe in them that much is such a funny thing to say about the former leader of Morena and former leader of Mexico. Like, he doesn't believe in them that much is such a funny take to say. He doesn't believe in them that much, bro. Chill. He just believes in them only a little bit. Listen, I'd much rather have a guy who believes in duendes that also expands the welfare state, okay, than a guy who is hiring television personalities whose parents have openly said, "You're a rapist and bad to women. I'm so upset with you. Get help," to run the American military, okay?
Cleared.
So you think you are completely cleared because you committed no crime. That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I am shocked that you would stand here and say you're completely cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared? How is that a complete clear?
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she's a child of God. She's a child of God. Owned. Tim Kaine in the membrane, Tim Kaine in the brain. Yeah. Put that in your brain, Tim Kaine.
She was, and you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false.
By the way, let's just say Pete Hegseth is a repeater of this offense. It's so funny because, like, look, as you guys know, I'm not exactly a firm and committed believer in any religion whatsoever. Okay, make no mistake. Although I was, culturally raised Muslim, grew up in a Muslim country, I have some of those cultural remnants. I am Muslim. Okay. I will say this. If God is real and Christianity is correct, virtually every single outspoken Christian is going to hell permanently. So at moments like this, I always think to myself, I cannot wait. I hope it's real. By my assessment, I have done very little to offend God by the rules of any of the three Abrahamic religions, with the exception of eating pork and drinking alcohol from time to time. But those are minor offenses, in my opinion. I think that, this sort of stuff, hurting people consistently, seems like that's a much larger issue, I'm just saying, you're going to hell, dog. You don't believe in any of the things that you espouse. You just don't believe in it. You must not. It makes no sense. I'm lame. I hope hell is a school where these people learn, not where they suffer for eternity. That is lame. But I get that.
False charges. Well, it was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I am so grateful for the marriage I have to this amazing woman behind me.
You've admitted that you...
I think attacking him for his infidelity is not going to change anyone's mind. They should focus on his incompetence. I think that this is a full-throated, multiple angle attack, and that's why they're talking about his infidelity, because it pisses him off, and it puts him on the back. It puts him on the back foot, and also, for the record, for a lot of people, that kind of stuff is what matters. In this day and age, it really doesn't, I guess. It is pretty funny that you're talking to a military man about infidelity, by the way, because I feel like you can't fully be a part of the American military if either your wife at home has not cheated on you, or if you haven't cheated on her when you're overseas. So infidelity is the name of the game here. What is this? Maximum penalty for extramarital sexual conduct. A conviction. Infidelity also leads. Oh, here's the counter argument. Okay, here's a relatively. Here's a normal argument you could make under normal circumstances, even though we don't live in a normal world, and I will tell you why. So infidelity is technically a risk. Okay, infidelity is a risk, just like alcoholism is a risk. It's a matter of national security because it opens you up to blackmail. Okay, technically, although it's laughable to assume that anyone will actually be penalized for infidelity and adultery or whatever. Wait, what? That's a stupid take. As adultery is a charge in the U.S. MJ law followed by all military and they're punished for it. Stupid ass take, bro. You are, oh my God, dude. I'm explaining to you what the reasons as to why they have such laws. And I'm explaining to you the reasons as to why they ask these sorts of questions. Okay? That's the same reason why Brett Kavanaugh's alcoholism was brought forth as well. And his gambling debt was also somewhat discussed, often not as discussed as it should have been because they somehow went away, the gambling debt that Brett Kavanaugh had when he was in his Supreme Court appointment hearings. Now, you haven't even let me explain why infidelity is technically a crime that can get you dishonorably discharged. It is because if you engage in infidelity, you can be blackmailed, okay? That's the number one problem. It is considered a security risk. Infidelity is considered a security risk. Gambling is considered a security risk. Okay? Alcoholism and other vices such as that are considered security risks for numerous different reasons. Someone could just like give you alcohol, have you spill stuff, state secrets or whatnot. Large amounts of debt is considered a security risk. I know this because I have immediate family members who have classified security, status. So, having said that, does the military actively prosecute adultery? The military doesn't even prosecute rape within its ranks, chatter. What the hell are you talking about? Come on, be for freaking real. So that's number one. Number two, and this is perhaps the interesting question here. Is it a blackmail opportunity if we live in the Trump world, where one can be as shameless as they want to be and suffer zero repercussions for it? Because blackmail only works if you have the capacity to feel shame. Blackmail only works on someone who wants to hide their crimes, on someone who wants to keep it a secret that he is a serial adulterer. Clearly, blackmail won't work on the likes of Pete Hegseth because all of his issues are laid bare as he sits there and openly takes it. This is one of the interesting dynamics, in my opinion, of the Trump world. This is literally a point the chatter was making. What are we talking about then? This chatter is right. This sort of hand-wringing about his infidelity, hypocrisy is a waste of time. Conservatives don't care about it and liberals won't do anything about it. No, the other chatter I'm laughing at who said like infidelity is a major issue in the military. You don't understand. Anyway, let's continue.
Had sex at that hotel in October 2017. You said it was consensual. Isn't that correct?
Anything...
You've admitted that it was consensual, and you were still married, and you just had a child by another woman.
Again,
how do you explain your judgment?
Completely false charges against me.
You
fully investigated, and I was completely clear.
You have admitted that you had sex while you were married to wife 2 after you just had fathered a child by wife 3. You've admitted that. Now, if it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
It was a false claim then and a false claim now.
If it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
That was a false claim.
So you
talking about a hypothetical.
So you can't tell me whether someone who has committed a sexual assault is disqualified from being Secretary of Defense?
Senator, I know in my instance, and I'm talking about my instance only, it was a false claim.
But you acknowledge,
but you
acknowledge that you cheated on your wife and that you cheated on the woman by whom you had just fathered a child. You have admitted that.
I will allow your words to speak for themselves.
You're not retracting that today. That's good. I assume that in each of your weddings, you've pledged to be faithful to your wife. You've taken an oath to do that, haven't you?
Senator, as I've acknowledged to everyone in this committee, not a perfect person, not claiming to be.
But no, I just asked a simple question. You've taken an oath, like you would take an oath to be Secretary of Defense in all of your weddings, to be faithful to your wife. Is that correct?
I have failed in things in my life, and thankfully I'm redeemed by my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Oh, God. Dude, shut up. What is this Jesus Christ nonsense? I hate... Dude, I hate people who very clearly use this like aesthetics focused hyper religious attitude as a shield when virtually no one cares. Who is this for is what I think. Every time I see someone behave like this, I'm like, no, dude, this doesn't work. Like, who is this for? Like, you're a bad dude. You've cheated on your wife. You've cheated on wives, multiple wives, over and over again. That's like kind of your thing. You've sexually assaulted women. Like, I hate this. I hate this stuff where it's like, nah, God has forgiven me for it. It's like, no, man, you are absolutely, you're going to God jail, okay? You're going to hell, dog. You are literally going to hell. It works for my Jamaican conservative aunties, unfortunately. I don't want to come across like a annoying Reddit atheist here, but it's just like so frustrating when I hear stuff like this from people who have just like done awful things. Okay? Just say you've atoned, okay? Just say that you've done horrible things and then show your work on why you are no longer that, like, those things don't represent who you are as a human being. But no, he's got to be like, nah, God has actually forgiven me for my sins. Oh, do you know that? Do you know that God forgives you for your sins? Do you have any, like, did he tell you? Who told you that? Did God tell you that? It's also weirdly, like, very, I don't know. It just comes across as like very self-aggrandizing. It's like, yeah, I got a direct line to God. Yeah, me and him, we're on speaking terms, dude. He's like, when I was cheating on my third wife, God was like, keep going, Pete. God was watching my stroke game. Like, anyway, that's how Christianity works. I mean, that's how a lot of people just like use and abuse religion.
In finalizing divorces from your first and second wives, were there non-disclosure agreements in connection with those divorces?
Senator, not that I'm aware of.
If there were, would you agree to release those first and second wives from any confidentiality agreement?
Senator, it's not something I'm aware of.
But if there were, you would agree to release them from a confidentiality agreement?
Senator, that's not my responsibility.
Did you ever engage in any acts of physical violence against any of your wives?
Senator, absolutely not.
But you would agree with me that if someone had committed physical violence against a spouse, that would be disqualifying to serve as Secretary of Defense, correct?
Senator, absolutely not have I ever done that.
You would agree that that would be a disqualifying offense, would you not?
Senator, you're talking about a hypothetical.
I don't think it's a hypothetical. Violence against spouses occurs every day. And if you as a leader are not capable of saying that physical violence against a spouse should be a disqualifying fact for being secretary of the most powerful nation in the world, you're demonstrating an astonishing lack of judgment. The incident in Monterey led to a criminal charge, a criminal investigation.
Yeah, here, I'm going to own Pete Hegseth. I talked to God. Okay, I talked to God. He said you're bad and you shouldn't be the Secretary of Defense. What now, Pete? What now, dog? What now, big dog? Yeah, that's right. Owned. You know what I'm saying? Checkmate. Checkmate, God lovers. God, I'm turning into such a Reddit atheist when I just like the Christian dominionist attitude is really gross to me because it's like it is the American version of ISIS, basically. And we don't have the same capacity to understand when it's like when it's basically a Christian operating on that same mentality. Because there is a formality, a structure, a process. It's more systematized when like the American government is dishing out this kind of violence. This is akin to having an ISIS person lead the most powerful military on the planet. Like his Christianity is not Christianity in the way that you understand it, in the way that you see it in your daily lives, in the way that you know your immediate family members who are like kind individuals who just, happen to be Christian. His Christianity is a violent one. It is a violent, false interpretation of Christianity, and that genuinely is frustrating to see. I mean, he literally has he has a Crusaders tattoo. It's a militant form of Christianity. He's very open about it. It's not something that he hides at all. It's actually part of the reason why I think Donald Trump wants him to be the Department of Defense lead here. So it's very frustrating. Yeah, he's got the Jerusalem cross. He's got the Crusader tattoo. Like, he is very much so a Christian nationalist, and normally I would say it's a LARP. For many people it is, but for Pete Hegseth, like, he's going to be in charge of the largest, most powerful military force on the planet. As a religious extremist, the invocation of God in this circumstance as a deflection, as a shield, as a defense mechanism to be like, oh, I'm a godly man and God has forgiven me for my adultery. It just rings hollow because I know what you think God is telling you.
Investigation, a private settlement, and a cash payment to the woman who filed the complaint. And there was also a non-disclosure agreement, correct?
It was a confidential settlement agreement off of a nuisance lawsuit.
Right. During an interview, you claimed that you settled the matter because you were worried that if it became public, it might hurt your career. Do you maintain that you were blackmailed?
Senator, I maintain that false claims were made against me. And ultimately,
your attorney
those
used
false
the
claims,
phrase,
I have the opportunity to attest my innocence in those false claims.
But you didn't reveal any of this to President Trump or the transition team as they were considering you to be nominated for Secretary of Defense. You didn't reveal the action. You didn't reveal the criminal complaint. You didn't reveal the criminal investigation. You didn't reveal the settlement. You didn't reveal the cash payment. Why didn't you inform the commander-in-chief and the transition team of this very relevant event?
Senator, I've appreciated every part of the process with the transition team. They have been open and
confidential settlement agreement off a nuisance lawsuit. I guarantee you had to memorize that turn of phrase. Yeah, it seems very coached. I mean, that makes sense though. You got to get a little bit of coaching. You know that that's going to be brought up. Yeah.
Honest with me, he's
also a TV guy. I mean, he is. Make no mistake, as hoorah and as gung-ho as he is, and as silly as he is, and as stupid as he is, he's still media trained enough. He is quite literally a media guy, right? So he knows how to appear in these moments. Everything that people like this do is deliberate in that situation. Look, down to the pocket, down to the silly aesthetics of wearing like an American flag handkerchief as your pocket handkerchief, And once again, remember, this man, regardless of how much he LARPs as like a doorbuster, he is Harvard educated, right?
Great conversations between the two of us, and I appreciate the opportunity that President-elect Trump has given me.
You chose not to reveal this, right? Because you knew it would hurt your chances. So you chose not to reveal this really important thing to the commander-in-chief and the transition team because you were worried about your chances rather than trying to be candid with the future president of the United States.
I know. Theology student, I know. You always chirp whenever we talk about Christian socialism. Everyone can be redeemed, but in our act of contrition, we pledge to amend our lives moving forward and never to sin again. He seems not to have done this. Plus, Pete is a heretic dominionist. That's what I'm saying. That's the part that really is frustrating. That's why his invocation of God rings hollow, because he's a Christian dominionist. He is insane. He is literally the Al-Qaeda of Christianity. And the wild part about it is you can be the Al-Qaeda of Christianity and no one bats an eye at that. That's what's so crazy about it. There is functionally, in the way that this man and his ilk, his kind, has bastardized Christianity, there is functionally no difference between that and ISIS. Okay? There's just nothing. There's no difference. The only difference is, I guess, it's dished out by the American state, so it's not seen in the same way. It's not a non-state actor. That's the difference between a drone strike and a drone strike wiping out an entire city block versus someone blowing up an improvised explosive device. One is an act of terror. The other one is, normal rules of engagement being followed in the field of war, in the field of battle, in the theater of combat.
Are there any other important facts that you chose not to reveal to the president-elect and his team as they were considering you to be Secretary of Defense?
Senator, I sit here before you an open book, as everyone who's watched this process.
With multiple non-disclosure and confidentiality agreements tying the hands of many people who would like to comment to us. Much has been made of your workplace behavior as a leader of nonprofit veterans organizations and as a Fox News contributor. Were you fired from either of the leadership positions with the nonprofits?
I was the leader. I was the CEO of Concerned Veterans for America and the executive director of Vets for Freedom.
Were you fired from either of them?
And I was never fired from a veterans organization.
Do you have non-disclosure agreements with either of those organizations?
Not that I'm aware of, Senator.
Many of your work colleagues have said that you show up for work under the influence of alcohol or drunk. I know you've denied that, but you would agree with me, right, that if that was the case, that would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense.
Senator, those are all anonymous false claims, and the totality
they're not anonymous.
The letters on the record here.
They're not anonymous.
On the record,
we've seen records with names attached to them.
Freedom, Concerned Vets for America, and Fox News attributing to me working hard every day on behalf.
One of your colleagues said that you got drunk at an event at a bar and chanted, "Kill all Muslims." Another colleague, not anonymous, we have this, said that you took coworkers to a strip club. You were drunk, you tried to dance with strippers, you had to be held off the stage, and one of your employees in that event.
I love that he gets like country girl drunk. You know what I mean? Like, that's so funny. He's like, he's so obviously not the right guy for this task, okay? Not the right guy for this job whatsoever. And there are so many instances in his past where he will just get like white girl wasted. I think Felix had a really funny bit about it where, he's the type of dude who just gets absolutely wasted and is a problem around, around his friends' daughters, like high school students, trying to get him, trying to play like Insane Clown Posse at the barbecue, just hammered at like 12:30. Is this a meaning about him getting rejected or just question? No, this is a question. This is supposed to be a job application. But he's going to get it anyway. Like, I don't think this meeting will be impactful.
Filed a sexual harassment charge as a result of it. Now, I know you denied these things, but isn't that the kind of behavior that, if true, would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense?
Senator, anonymous false charges.
They're not anonymous. And I'll just conclude and say this to the chairman. You claim that this was all anonymous. We have seen records with names attached to all of these, including the name of your own mother. So don't make this into some anonymous press thing. We have seen multiple names of colleagues consistently throughout your career that have talked about your abusive.
Yeah. One of those people was his mom. Like, it's not your mom, dog. Your mom was like, "You're a bad person. You need to stop being a plague on women. I have failed you. I have failed this nation." Like, I mean, look, that's crazy. Like that is like, that's the one person that you don't expect to come out against you like that.